Hello there and welcome back. Today I have 5 thrift store makeovers to share with you, along with a review of my new favorite household helper, a robot vacuum named Emma from Trifo. She is super helpful and I'll introduce you to her a little later on, but first, some makeovers. Today's first project is this wonderful mirror that I found at a vintage store. I fell in love with all its delightful details. Unfortunately, the stain color is a little too intense for the color scheme that I like to use in my home, so I'm going to give it a makeover, starting with my favorite primer. If you're interested in any of the products that I'm using in today's video, I will have them all listed down below in the description box with some links for you if you'd like to check them out. So I added one thin layer of the primer and allowed that to dry before moving on to adding the paint. I'm using some leftover paint in a creamy white color. It's a latex indoor with a satin finish, and I gave the whole thing 2 light coats, allowing of course for drying time in between. And then I wanted to add just a little bit of distressing. Not a whole lot, just a little bit along the edges, just to add a little bit of dimension and help bring out the cool details on this mirror. For this step of the project, I'm using a sanding sponge, which is one of my favorite tools to use for this type of distressing. They're easy to use and they give me a lot of control. I started this step with a coarse grit sanding sponge. This one is made by 3M, and then I finished off by using a fine grit sanding sponge to smooth all the edges out. Once I had all this sanding completed, I removed all the dust particles with a microfiber cloth, and finally I removed the painter's tape that I put down to protect the mirror at the very beginning of this project, which I forgot to tell you I did, so sorry about that. And here's the finished mirror hanging in my room. Now please excuse the rest of the room. I have not really decorated this room, only added a few things like this mirror here and there as I come across them. So it still needs a little work, so bear with me, but I absolutely love how this mirror turned out. I think it looks absolutely fabulous, and I am so pleased with it. Today's second project is these 2 easel mirrors, which I have had for years, but don't tend to use because the color just never seems to work quite right. So I'm going to change that up today. The first thing I did was remove the backing and the mirror itself, so I was working with just the frame, which is actually made from plastic. I then took my favorite spray paint in the color Heirloom White with a satin finish and gave both frames 2 coats of paint. This instantly updated the frames, but I wanted to go a little step further, so I took some paint by Arteza in the color Gold and very lightly, like almost dry brushing with a soft flat brush, I brushed on some of the paint on the edges of the raised design around the frame. This really helped highlight some of the detail work on the frame. After 2 light coats of the gold paint, my project was complete. I then replaced the mirror and the backing, and I was ready to decorate with them, so I decided to use them in my living room for my summer decor on my mantle, and I think they turned out so pretty. The color now works so much better with the color scheme that I tend to like in my home. I feel like I'm going to be able to use them more often, which is going to make me very excited because I think they're such fun and unique mirrors. Next up is this fun candle holder, which I knew right away I wanted to use outside. So I grabbed my favorite spray paint, Heirloom White, satin finish, gave it 2 coats, which I didn't record because you guys have seen me spray paint many times, and now it is sitting out on my deck, and I absolutely love it. I'm using an outdoor flameless candle, which I picked up at Target probably 2 or 3 years ago. I have like 3 of them. These are excellent. I think they still sell something very similar. Just plop that inside, and now at night it gives off a nice little glow, and I think it is so pretty and fun. The babies and I spent a lot of time out here just hanging out and keeping a watchful eye over our gardens. Even though this was a small, easy change up to better suit my style, it was well worth the effort because it's amazing how it adds a more comfortable, cozy feel to the space for us to enjoy. Not to mention, I think it's super cool. Next up is this really unique spoon rack, which I absolutely fell in love with. It has some really fun curves. It's got a cute little shelf on the bottom, and I thought it would look really cool stripped down to the raw wood. So that is what I decided to do. I'm using a new stripper today. It's called Ready Strip Advanced, and I am hoping that it will do the trick. I went ahead and applied a nice thick coat of the stripper all over. If you look in the background, you can see I'm out in my garage because this stripper has a bit of a smell. It's not terrible by any means, but I just thought this would be a good place to work on it. And then I just sat back and waited about an hour, hour and a half, and I came back in with my potty knife and just started scraping off the stripper and the old stain. The old stain and the stripper came off really easy. I didn't really have to scrape very hard at all, so I was very pleased about that. And since there were so many curves and crevices on this spoon rack, I decided to use a wire brush on the areas that I couldn't really get with the putty knife, and this worked really well. I ended up just using it all over just to, for good measure, and that worked really nice. The next step was to sand everything down so it was nice and smooth. I started with a coarse grit sandpaper, followed by a fine grit sandpaper, and I absolutely love this little sanding tool that I use. I know I've shared it before on my channel, but it is worth repeating because it is so awesome. It's made by Gator, and it comes with 3 different grades of sandpaper that you can attach to the Velcro on the bottom, and it is fabulous. After the sanding, it is time to add a top coat, and I'm using my favorite today, DuraClear Ultra Matte from Americana, and I just brushed on a nice thick coat all over, and now I have it hanging in my kitchen, and I absolutely love how it turned out. I think it is so cool. To the top spoon rack, I added some vintage silver spoons for my collection, and to the bottom shelf, I added a pop of red with a plate, and then 2 adorable small creamers. For now, I have it hanging on the wall, but I can also just set it on my counter, which I think is pretty cool as well. A lot of times when I'm working on projects, I get behind on daily chores like vacuuming. With dark wood floors and 2 adorable fur babies, it doesn't take more than a day before my floors start looking terrible. So of course, I was super excited when Trifo contacted me to see if I'd like to review their robot vacuum named Emma. It's made to handle pet fur, it has a mopping option, and I can connect it to my Alexa, which is super handy. It works best on hardwood floors and low-profile carpets. Here I am trying to see what would happen if it ran over a dog toy.
Please put me back on the ground.
On the top front is your power and home button. If you open it up, you have a Wi-Fi indicator light and a reset button, along with your dustpan, which is super easy to remove with a push of a button. And as you can see, I have been running it quite a bit just to see how full I could get it. And it's pretty full, so it seems to be doing its job very nicely. It has 2 filters on the top of the dustpan. This door easily removes the top filter, and the second filter is down below, which is also easy to remove for cleaning. Both are easily cleaned by rinsing with water, allowing to dry, and then replacing. The bottom of the vacuum has your typical roller, which is very easy to remove if you need to detangle it, but it also comes with a pet hair extractor that you can use instead. I have used both methods, and they both seem to work just about the same, so I really don't have a favorite at this point. It also has a mopping attachment, which you can fill up with water, attach to the vacuum, and clean your floors. There's also a handy app which you can download onto your phone. You can set up cleaning schedules, start and pause the vacuum, send it back to the charger, select suction strength, as well as view battery life, area cleaned, and time it took. There also is a very handy manual mode in which you can control the direction of the vacuum, which I think is very fun. All in all, Emma has been a great addition to our household. I will share a link down in the description box if you're interested in learning more about Emma. She has done a great job of cleaning my floors, and she's very reasonably priced, which I think is awesome. I have 2 more makeovers to share with you, so let's get to it. I recently found this bench at the thrift store, and I was so excited. I've been wanting a bench like this for so long. It was only $29, and I scooped it up. I haven't even shared it in a haul yet because I basically brought it home and started working on it. It had a bit of a glossy finish, so I took a sanding block and ran it over it just to kind of scuff it up a little bit to make the paint stick a little better. Then I took a microfiber cloth and got all the little dust particles off, and then it was ready for some paint. Once again, I'm using some paint that I'm trying to use up. I've had this for quite a while, but I absolutely love this shade of black. It's like a smoky black is what I like to call it, and it is beautiful. I gave the whole thing 2 coats of paint, making sure to leave a nice, generous, long dry time in between coats, and that was all that this lovely little bench needed. It is absolutely perfect for this little spot at the bottom of the steps, and I absolutely love how it turned out. Today, here's a bonus makeover that took me like 2 minutes. I found this adorable Scotty Dog bookend at the thrift store and thought it would be so cute for my office. I want to add some pink accents, so I thought it would look adorable painted pink. I picked out this folk art paint in vintage tea rose and started painting it on it, which was quick and easy. However, once I had it painted up, I didn't really care for the color. It was like too mauvey and I wanted more of a baby pink. So I picked another color to try. This is by Waverly. It's called Ballet Slipper. And once I started painting it, I knew that this was the one that was going to work for me. For now, I've tucked it into one of the cubbies in my office. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to end up using the bookend, but I'll figure it out soon enough, and I think it will be an adorable addition to the space. And that, my friends, are the makeovers that I wanted to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed them. I had so much fun working on them. I'm hoping that this will help remind you that not all projects have to be time-consuming and complicated. Sometimes a simple, easy change is all that's needed to make it more beautiful to you, which is one of the many reasons why I love thrift store makeovers. I would also like to thank Trifo once again for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you check out the link down in the description box if you're interested in getting an Emma for your own house. And with that, I will say goodbye for now. I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye now.